Hello, this is Lawrence Lewis.
And this is Sister Christian.
Today is Monday, May 11th, 2020. This is the Producer's Happy Hour, a daily podcast with two producers on opposite coasts, reaching out to our filmmaking and live event community to hear your stories about how the pandemic has affected you, your life, and your work.
Your stories let us know that we're not alone. It's important for us to keep sharing our experiences and ideas, especially now when we can't be around each other.
So email us, or better yet, record a 1 to 2 minute voice memo. You can do it on your smartphone and send it to us at producershappyhour@gmail.com. Just follow the instructions on our website, producershappyhour.com.
And please share the show with your friends, colleagues, family, everyone you know. We want these stories to be heard. They're human stories and we can all relate whether you're in the business or not.
So today, Christian, we have our second crew safety roundtable.
Spicy!
It's a spicy one. No, it's good.
In a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. Everyone feels comfortable. Yeah. They're in a safe space where they can talk and discuss their concerns moving forward.
Yeah.
So we're going to have three crew members. Frankie Pagnota, she is a second AD, DGA, second AD. Amit Gajwani, wardrobe stylist, and Margina Dennis, makeup and hair.
Yes, very exciting.
Oh yeah, they have a lot to say, folks. So
they have
stay
a lot
tuned.
to say. Christian, how's it going? It's Monday.
So fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
I guess it's, to me, is like, okay, my new normal? Is this reality?
Yeah, this is it.
I guess my mind and my body think that. And so the routine that we've had over the last 9 weeks is settling into this, which is, I don't know what to do or say. I mean, again, we talked about it on Friday, I think. We can't live at a heightened state of anxiety or outrage forever. Yeah. Eventually, you have to give yourself a break. So that's where I'm at. How are you?
Exactly. I'm good. Same thing. I mean, I feel like every day is complicated in new and different ways. It seems like time moves differently. So it's either deadly slow or super fast. And you just keep
1,000 miles an hour.
There's just not enough time to get everything done.
Right.
And it's interesting. And like you said, this is our weird new normal for now.
Time is relative.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm not on everyone else's time schedule right now. And so you get random just friends reaching out at odd hours because that's when they're up, which is totally fine. And then you answer it when you can on your hours. It's just a different way of thinking, and the stress to answer it right away is no longer there.
Oh, I feel like it's more business inquiries or projects from, it's like, I did start a lot of projects when all this happened. So there seems to be, we're all in theory sitting at home with nothing to do. So I should have plenty of time to, respond right away or answer. And I'm feeling very protective of my time right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had that discussion with a group of folks that I started a project with last week, and we just explain to everybody that although we are, quote unquote, sitting at home, it doesn't mean that we're available 24 hours a day and can immediately respond to things. So don't text until I do. It was kind of the conversation. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. These are the times that it's important to protect yourself and protect your time and protect your personal interests, because it's all going to go away soon and we'll be back to work and we'll be back running this stupid rat race like we were before all this happened. And I think we've all learned that priorities have shifted now.
Yes.
I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing too.
So I just want to say two quick things, and then we're going to go right to the crew roundtable because it's a big one. I mentioned this before. SAG-AFTRA and IATSE are presenting a virtual town hall with U.S. Representative Adam Schiff. That's tomorrow, May 12th at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. If anybody wants to join us on YouTube, you can just go to YouTube and search for it.
Right.
I'll put a link in the show notes. And then, Christian, you sent me this today, the production-specific department guidelines from the AICP. They go down department by department and give a couple of bullet points for each department on what are best practices now.
And it's a rehash of what...
it's a rehash, yes.
And I understand that everybody, all the entities out there would like to say these things to us and give us guidelines. However, I'm not buying into it yet. It needs to be cohesive. It needs to have our voices. It needs to have crew voices represented, and it's just not there.
And there still is no mention on here of a third party safety monitor or health monitor on set that is going to manage this full-time job of instilling these
I mean, it is an opportunity for the state government entities to add jobs.
It's another source of income, another source of jobs. In LA, I believe it should be the Film LA that is handling well, actually, no, it should be statewide. I think it should be statewide, right?
I personally feel that the film commissions in each state, but in California, it's a roller coaster there. So permitting in entities, not every job permits though. So I do think that it should be OSHA or state regulated.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's get on with this crew safety roundtable. And let's hear what they all got to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Frankie Pagnotta, second AD, assistant director. After being a production assistant for about 5 years, she joined the DGA as a commercial second AD. Soon after that, she upgraded her position and became a DGA first AD in commercials, which has allowed her to work on TV and films in Southern California.
Amit Gajwani is a wardrobe stylist. He was born in Mumbai, India. And at the age of 12, he moved to the United States. His keen interest in the fashions of different cultures is evident in his work. After assisting established costume designers and stylists, he began styling on his own and has now a client list that ranges from editorials to advertising to celebrities and films.
Margina Dennis is a makeup artist in New York City. Margina has specialized in making the world a little more beautiful for over 15 years. She has worked her magic on celebrities such as Tracy Morgan, Jane Lynch, Leah Michelle, and Tom Brady. Her work has graced the pages of Teen Vogue, Entertainment Weekly, and L'Officiel.
And we're going to put all their contact information in our show notes in case you want to get a hold of any of them. Let's take a listen. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to go around the table and just introduce yourself, say your name and your job title, and we'll start with Frankie.
I am Frankie Pagnotta. I'm going to change my name on here, though, because it says Francesca, and I don't want to confuse people. I am an AD, and it really does confuse people, Lawrence, believe it or not.
Does it really?
Oh, my gosh. They're like, you're Frankie? Yeah, I'm Frankie.
It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Amit, we'll go to you.
Hi, I'm Amit Gajwani. I'm a costume designer, wardrobe stylist.
And you're based in New York, right?
I'm based in New York and LA.
And LA. Bi-coastal. Okay, great. Margina.
Margina Dennis. I'm a makeup artist. I'm based in New York, but I do work in LA as well.
Great. Thank you all for joining us. And this is a good group because the three of you all work closely with talent. So I think that there's a lot of factors in there and that can be an important part of the discussion. Christian, take it away.
So that was the very first thing I thought was, well, the three of you are working with talent. And when we work with crew members, we can vet them, somewhat, because usually they're the crew members we reach out to that we've worked with before and whatever. But talent can somewhat be strangers to us. We don't know. And sometimes there might be a surprise bonus, 100 extras.
Yeah, yes.
That kind of thing that just show up.
And 200 extras.
The jobs that I would turn down were night shoot, sorry, and 100 extra jobs. So if you got a call for a job today and there weren't any changes, would you take it?
What do you mean by changes?
Meaning that maybe you were supplied some gloves and a mask when you walked in and things were sanitized. But, I guess what we're trying to really discuss right now is what we did before and what we're going to be walking into now.
We're going to go in order and we'll stick with this order. So we'll start with Frankie, go to Amit, and go to Margina.
I object. Order.
Would you prefer to go last?
Yes. Yeah. We should have let the AD organize this, but
It's the AD's job.
Yes.
I should probably lead by saying that I pretty much think I had it in January. I was sick for 2 months, so this thing doesn't scare me. It hasn't scared me.
Okay.
I do have a compromised immune system, and I get sick all the time. If there's a flu, I get it. If there's a cough, I get that cough. I mean, I'm just like, so I'm used to paying attention to my health. So I'm going to lead with that just so people understand that I'm not left, I'm not right,
yeah.
I have my own basic opinion based on my personal experience with the world.
That's
and
great.
my health.
And we do want to add that, this is a safe space. So if somebody has a disagreement or a different idea, please feel free to share it. No judgment. We really want to hear everyone's honest opinion. So Frankie, carry on.
So for me, I would take a job today because I really, really miss my craft. I never realized how much I really enjoyed being an AD. Yeah. I was still, after we shut down in Hollywood, I was still going and volunteering in downtown in Skid Row at one of the missions. Mm-hmm. And the president came out into the dining room area and was like trying to film a little video update for people who follow the mission and want to know how they're doing. You would think that I was shooting it like I was a cinematographer. I ran out, I took my gloves off. I was like, I'm in the middle of prepping food, and I ran out there. I was like, can I just help you? I really don't like the size of the frame. He's a fat guy. And this was only 2 weeks after. This was March 13th is when we shut down, and this was like 2 weeks after that, whatever that date is. And I was like, I'm not gonna be okay if this goes very long. And now I'm kind of still reeling, and it's been 2 months. But anyway, yes, I would take a job because I have always taken the stance of taking care of ourselves. And I know film crew members, actors, our business has been very pro. They should have that on set for me. Yeah. No, if you like to take Tylenol and not Advil, don't be mad that they don't have Tylenol. Bring your Tylenol with you.
Yeah. It's a very New York attitude, Frankie, which I love.
If you're afraid of catching the COVID-19, wear a mask.
Or don't come out.
Or don't bring your ass to work.
Got it.
Really easy. I know that's not politically correct, but it is. That's how it's
not. But again, there's no judgment. It's your decision.
Yeah, 100%.
So, thank you.
And again, but also to protect the actors. If an actor says, "Well, why aren't you wearing?" I'm going to go put gloves on. I'm going to do what it takes to make an actor comfortable, because that's what my job is. Also, is to make sure that person is safe and feels comfortable. And if I get to production, they're like, "Oh, well, we're all supposed to be wearing." I'm going to be a little resistant to it because I hate wearing the masks, but I'll wear them because it's part of where we are right now.
Right.
So I'm saying, like, on both sides of it, yes, I'll do what it takes to make somebody comfortable. At the same time as I'm going to make sure I'm safe.
Right.
So I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not putting my hands in my mouth. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So Ahmed.
No, I mean, like, I agree with Frankie. I miss being on set. I miss my work. I hate the fact that it's been already 2 months and being in. Frankie, are you in New York or in LA?
Oh, LA. New York is way too much.
Okay, so I mean, this is because I wanted to ask that, because for us, being in New York, where obviously we have the highest amount of cases, and the fact that we all take public transportation everywhere in New York, the entire crew has to take a public transportation. So we have a little more. I definitely want to get back to set. I'm like you. I take care of my health. I'm super anal. I'm very neurotic about germs, and I get it. But it's, for me, it's not about me right now. It's like working on a film and there's 300 people on my set. I have to think about God, and if something happens to me and I'm not aware of it, and I just spread it around. So it's not even about me catching anything. I'm more worried about if I have it and I'm spreading it around. So, the way we operate in our industry right now, because of where we are with this, this pandemic, some things I think need to change for everybody to feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Of course, I wear my mask in New York. If I ride a city bike today, I wipe down that city bike and because I'm very aware of these things. But most of our crew, that's how we get around. And in our business, I was thinking about this, because our business is everything is so rushed. Changes happen. We have to constantly be on the fly. And in those situations, I think that's where we're going to have problems, because we're going to forget to take the precautions that we probably should, because we need it yesterday. Mm-hmm. Even on a set, like, I see how many times costumes have to be changed in 5 minutes. Christian has, lit a fire underneath my butt to get me going. So I will, there are things that I might forget, in a good way, Christian.
Well, when you're filming 3 weddings in one 14-hour day, you got to get people in and out.
With 200 extras. Yeah. But that's where, it's like, I get it. I will protect myself. I have a pretty healthy system. I exercise, I do yoga. I'm not worried about myself. We're in tight situations. And with my actors, like, we're the first contact actors have on the film set. We start spending time with them weeks in advance. And like you said, if they want an Advil and a Tylenol, they should have it. But that rarely happens, because production or somebody in one of our crew will jump and go get them the Tylenol. Right. I think I agree with Christian. Some things our practices might need to change a little for our safety and the comfort level,
Well, thank you. And Margina?
Since I'm a makeup artist, I've been touching people for a long time and being in front of them and being sneezed and coughed on and everything else. People forget that we've had to assume from the beginning that somebody had something that's in our chair pre-COVID, whether they had the flu, a cold, herpes, Hep C, impetigo, all of these things that are very contagious and easily spreadable. So we've had to conduct ourselves in a sanitary manner, not just to protect ourselves, but also to protect our kit and protect other people that we work on. So I just think that we're going to have to maybe re-educate or educate people within our industry of how we work, because we work away from set, just like wardrobe does. So there's not exactly an understanding of how we work. We end up becoming these powder puff people, and we're just glam when there's so much more involved in what we do. And that we need that little extra bit of time to maybe disinfect in between actors and wipe it down for everybody's comfort level. I was already cleaning everything before and after work. I have been using a UV light and medical grade disinfectant for years, not because I'm such a crazy germ person, but just, for the safety of my kit and also my reputation and my job. And now I'll just have to go that much further. I always had gloves on my kit in case maybe I cut my hand or something like that. It'd just be staple along with the mask. But I'm also aware of the psychological aspect of things because I'm this close to someone. And there are some actors that are going to be very comfortable with me having a hazmat suit on, but there's other people that's going to have the opposite effect on them. I'm also looking at ways where I can be safe and protected, but also put the people in my chair at ease that, yes, I'm being, operating in a sanitary manner, but I don't want to reinforce or remind you of this horrible thing that we've been dealing with. So I'm struggling with that, and I found some solutions to that.
Interesting. Yeah, it's not like the movie Outbreak.
Yeah.
Like with,
I'm comfortable going back to work tomorrow because I've already been doing things. And as this thing started to unfold, I had already started preparing for when we were going to go back to work. So I started preparing before we closed down. So I'm ready. And I contacted my insurance, my general liability, my personal liability, my $3 million policy. Yeah. I'm COVID covered. So let's do this.
Wow. All right.
That's another conversation. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You're COVID covered? That's because a lot of businesses won't even do that.
My general liability and my personal liability policy are a medical policy.
Oh. There you go. Interesting. Writing that down.
Yeah.
I learned something.
They're medical policies. So I've already been in touch with my underwriter to make sure that I'm protected.
Right.
I do have other things. I mean, a solution for me isn't just having some hand sanitizer and a pair of gloves.
Right.
We have a lot more disposables, as you know, because we're touching people that we will go through much more than other crew members. So that has to be factored in budgetary wise.
I also think about, it's like when you talk about flu and stuff in our industry, when one person gets it on set, it travels the set, by the end of production, pretty much everything.
It's craft service.
Exactly. Or anything, I mean, it's just worrisome if we don't have some precautions.
Yeah. So here's a precaution. Well, it's a two-sided question. Do you feel like everybody who comes onto the film set needs to get tested for COVID before they're allowed to join the production? And would you be willing to get tested in order to get a job? In order to be hired, would you be willing to submit yourself to a test? Obviously, testing is a big question mark right now. There's many different types. Let's just kind of go with a general test concept. Frankie, would you be willing to submit to a test? And do you feel like all the people on the set should do as well?
Yes to both. But like you said, there's so many different tests. There's so many Mickey Mouse tests. So it's like, I don't want to waste time doing it. As an AD, I obviously don't want to, I'm always thinking about the Apple spots, like 700 people in a line just to get a piece of paper that says they can work on set, a little wristband that we can get at Big Five ourselves. But yeah, if it's a legitimate medical test and it's not a bunch of PAs standing there doing it, then 100%. But the minute it becomes about the bottom line and them, the production company trying to protect themselves, then I have a problem with that, because then it's not really about health and safety. It's about you covering your own asses so that you don't get sued or whatever the case is. But yeah, I think testing is important as long as it's legitimate medical testing.
Yes. Right. Ahmet?
I mean, I agree. I definitely think it should be done by medical staff. My bigger concern with testing is our privacy. As someone who likes to keep my stuff private, especially in a world where nothing is private anymore, I would like to know where, there would have to be some kind of, an NDA that this is only being used for our production and nothing else. Something of sort that gives us a protection. I don't think there's any harm in testing and testing everyone, but I also think it's an individual's choice whether or not they want to be tested. I mean, I don't know if we can necessarily force, but if a production requires it, that's their choice in the end. Maybe they choose not to work on that production. As someone who's values safety more than anything, yes, I think we should be tested for peace of mind.
Right.
But like Frankie, it can't be done by a PA.
No, yeah. Yeah.
I do not want PAs handing me the time card.
No. Margina, what about you?
We're not drawing blood.
Yeah. No. Margina.
I agree with what Frankie said, but my hesitation again is with the quality of the testing. There's so many tests out there, and they're finding out that most of these tests are just wrong,
jacked.
It's just
bad. And so I don't really feel confident or comfortable having a test administered when that's what the reality is. It's the same thing with the temperature thing. I mean, temperature isn't valid at all. I mean, to me, that's opening production up to more lawsuits than anything, because you could have a temperature for numerous reasons. Say you got a flu shot, that's going to raise your temperature. Vaccines will raise your temperature. Say you have a UTI, that's going to raise your temperature. If you have a temperature, doesn't mean you have COVID. And if you kept me from working on a job because I had a fever and I immediately went out and got tested and came up negative, production has a lawsuit. So that's not a solution, because now they're discriminating against people working.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Because of a number.
Because of a number.
You can also be asymptomatic and have the virus. The temperature
it doesn't even matter.
No.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that there's some ADA issues as well when it comes to whether you can work or not. So I think there would have to, in our opinion, there would have to be some sort of a sick pay put into that as well. So personal hygiene of everybody's unknown. Right. And so we talked about how closely you guys work with talent, but also crew, like, people, I know that we can all handle ourselves, and, craft service was going to have to change. Lunches is going to have to change. Like, many things will have to change. Right. But you can't really trust anybody 100% when it comes to personal hygiene. You forget, like you said, right? Does this affect you? Like, does it worry you at all?
When thinking about talent. Mostly because
mostly talent, but I mean, if we're all sharing restrooms and lunch areas, and at some point, all of you guys will visit set with your talent, right? Frankie, does this bother you? Worry you at all?
Well, yeah, because I usually have to literally hold their hands to get them out of the makeup chair.
You have to yank them out and get them to set because they've been screaming for them for hours. Yeah, I know.
Like, you can't talk to every single body. We got to go.
Yeah.
So I grab their hands, but I'm never doing that again.
Get a pole.
Get one of those grab sticks.
Them out.
That's kind of a difficult one because, like, I hear stories from costumes and I hear stories from makeup all the time. This actor came to the fitting with no drawers on. This actor came to the fitting with dirty drawers on. Like, and they asked for clean underwear. Like, stuff like that. It's something that I don't have to deal with firsthand, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I understand and I get it, because I tend to keep a distance. Like I said, I have my own issues. I have a compromised immune system. So I tend to just keep a distance with most of these people. But I don't know that there is a way to control that. If an actor comes to set and they literally smell like they haven't showered since 2 days, or they didn't brush their teeth or whatever. Like, I don't know that there's a way to, tell an actor to go take a shower without it being some kind of offense, I mean, and do we have showers in the motorhomes,
To your point, we tell them when they get their call time to make sure that they've showered. I mean, I know. It just feels like a rough solution, but
you are a grown-ass man.
I know.
Right? Or a woman.
You're making $80,000 for the day.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I showered, sis. So I don't.
I showered about 15 minutes ago.
No judgment. I'm just saying. But Ahmed, I know that you and I worked together, and absolutely, you've heard those stories as well. So.
We touch so many of their body parts, we're really, and at times we're in places sometimes I don't want to be, let's say, trying to fix a costume. Unless, like you said, you're right. I have horror stories of what I have witnessed with actors and their hygiene. So yes, you can send them a letter on a call sheet saying that they should bathe, and would they actually do it? I don't know. I know there are actors that I work with that wouldn't care, So in the end, with everything, I can only control myself, and I can ask my crew to, uphold these standards. I can't control the actors, let alone anybody else. We're going to have to trust a little. somewhere, you know? Obviously, if there's a smell, I'm going to go to the AD and be like, hey, Frankie, she smells.
Deal with it.
I need your help over here.
It's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, in the costume department, we can provide them certain things like sanitizers and stuff, but that's also can only do so much.
To your point, the trust that we may have had or extended to a stranger before may be compromised now. So, and Margina, you want to join in on this?
I'm just going to say this because I'm a very observant person. I might not say a lot. And I don't just work on film and TV sets. I also work on print sets as well, advertising stuff. And I've been doing this a while, and I don't really understand why there is this badge of honor of exiting the bathroom with dry hands.
Right.
So I'm all for the bathroom police. Somebody there standing there making sure people wash their hands, because we could cut down on the spread of a lot of stuff if people just sing happy birthday and wash their hands.
Or bringing the sinks out into the public, so that when they walk out of the bathroom, we can all watch them do it.
Well, yeah, because I've seen people literally leave the bathroom with their little dry hands and go right to crafty table and start touching food. So I'm to the point where I just bring snacks. Before we got shut down, because I was working on Pose on March 13th, I was already to the point where I was bringing my own food. Because all this stuff was rolling around, and I'm like, I know the crafty truck's being really extra careful because now they're hand packing everything, but it was still a communal, serve yourself sort of lunch and breakfast. So I'm like, I'm going to feed myself. I'm not worried about who's preparing it. I'm more so worried about the people that are touching.
That handled it before.
That handled it, that came out of the bathroom with dry hands. Just keeping it real. Because I'm like, what's that about? Really?
Yeah.
Wash your hands, please. Just wash your hands.
Wash your damn hands.
Wash your damn hands.
So there's a lot of talk going around in the community about waivers and releases and different types of waivers and releases. So I want to get your beat on what you guys would be willing to sign if it was asked of you. So there's a couple different ones. One, some companies are saying that you would need to sign a commitment that you have not personally experienced any symptoms of COVID-19 in order to be on set. Another form of this is actually a waiver and a release would be that you release the production company from any sort of liability if you contract COVID-19 on their set. Don't know if anyone's going to implement any of these, but what are your thoughts, Frankie?
I am 100% not. I'm against the releasing anybody's liability of anything ever.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because, again, I have a problem with people's bottom line and people's health. Like, I've watched companies, I've watched producers, I've watched production teams, like, try and skate around things just to avoid like a $500 difference. That comes back to me every time I read anything like that, where they're like, well, would you be willing to sign? No, because that tells me that you're trying to hide something from me at some point for some reason.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be true, but that's what that illustrates for me as an AD, that you're trying to get around something that you're responsible for. What was the other one?
Promising that you haven't had any symptoms in the past week or so before the job.
Well, I think that's a reasonable question. However, it doesn't stop people from lying. Because I'm almost 100% sure I had it in January and did not get rid of it until the beginning of March. And I was diagnosed twice wrong.
Interesting.
Just as a side note, do you mind if I say that you're in the DGA?
No, yeah. Directors
of
America.
Have you
proud member.
Have you received anything from your union saying that you should or shouldn't sign? I've heard IATSE sent some stuff out, but I don't know.
No, because I sit on a couple of the committees and there's a lot of conversation about it. And the majority of the guild feels that it's not something that we should sign, but there is no official statement that has come out that says, do not do this.
Keep us updated on that.
Ahmet?
For the former, I mean, I have no problem signing. Like Frankie said, that I haven't had the symptoms, but I think a lot of people would lie. I think a better way to go about that is maybe to get everybody tested before, we go into production, to curb that. So that would resolve that issue. As for the liability issue, no way. I mean, we live in a country where health insurance it's a tragedy the way we have to deal with health insurance. The fact that we don't have, even with being in the union and not doing union hours and losing my health insurance or paying so much, I think production has to protect us in some way. if they're taking away that liability, mean that they're not doing what they need to do on their end. Mm-hmm. And that's what that worries.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah. Martina?
I agree, because it kind of fosters that kind of distrust that they're like, okay, we don't want to assume any responsibility for anything whatsoever on this. And the symptom thing is a slippery slope too, because a lot of the COVID symptoms are very vague and they're for numerous different other things, even for allergies. So if I have post-nasal drip and cough because the tree pollen is driving me crazy, you're gonna accuse me of having COVID?
Yeah.
No, I mean that's
a headache.
Insane. So I don't know what they're gonna do about that. I'm also a union member, and like Frankie's saying, nothing's come out official, but they've told us not to sign anything, or that we shouldn't be because of reasons that we're talking about, because they should be concerned with welfare instead of just looking at the numbers, because it is a human life. So $500, $50, all of this fighting over, this sort of stuff that happens all the time when you know that they paid an exorbitant amount of money. Like maybe someone's staying at a 5-star hotel instead of a 3.5, but they're fighting us over $100 on something to ensure the safety of more people. That's the sort of stuff that is maddening to me.
Yes.
Completely agree.
Totally.
So, department-specific concerns. Frankie, are there things that your department that are like unique to the way you work? Maybe something we're not thinking of when it would come to what some of your concerns would be going back to work?
My and this is going to sound bad again. My main concern is that I'll have to wear a mask, because it's already hard enough to communicate with people being a minority female in my white male driven position. And I was talking to a couple of other AD friends of mine about that question, because it was written in the questionnaire thing that you guys sent out. And it shouldn't be a concern of mine, but I really feel like it's going to make my job harder just because a person's not going to be able to see my face. And it kind of gives you that banded feel,
Yeah. Part of your job is communication. You're there to communicate. Yeah. And that kind of communication makes it much more challenging. Yeah.
Like you can't hear me, or you can't see that I'm serious, or you can't see if I'm joking, or, it changes the level. I can adapt, because I will. And that's what ADs do, or they should. No, they're terrible.
Some are terrible.
Most are terrible, but we're not there. We're not here for that. So for me, that's probably the biggest challenge. And then I think the next challenge is going to be this cleanliness that's next to godliness kind of thing. Like, trying to balance that and not leaving the costume and hair makeup department on their own when an actor comes in smelling like yesterday, or feeling like yesterday, or looking like yesterday, or, it's like, these are not things that would keep me from going to work. These are just things that are going to probably
the concerns.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Frankie. It's more about the cleanliness aspect, and obviously we're very intimate with our talent on any set, protecting ourselves and them, and for me, my crew. And we live in such tight quarters. We spend most of our time in a little room or, on the truck, and people come in and out constantly out of our truck. I mean, it's a question of just being conscious of being clean and being a little bit more neurotic than we normally are. As for the mask, it sucks, but being in New York, and I've been doing it for the past 2 months almost every time I step out, it's just kind of become a way of life right now. It sucks and it's hard to hear, and yes, it's frustrating, but if it means protecting our set, you know what, I can do it. Keeping the 6 feet of distance, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I know.
I think set size, like how many people we're allowed to gather, I think will dictate a little bit to that.
I mean, I can tell from the print world. I know you said you do print as well. Like for me, print world has actually called me about work, which is same. And they're already talking about production. I've gone, talent and stuff. And it's so weird because they've already asked me to cut down my crew. And they're like, what can I do? How can we arrange this, so that we don't have 3 assistants on set? Can I tackle more work? Yeah, which is fine. And that's the thing. As long as production's aware that we don't have a problem doing the extra step and the extra work, as long as we get some time, which I said earlier, for us, when things on our set are always in a hurry, that's where I'm most concerned about. Like, that's where I think things are going to slip through the cracks.
100%.
You know?
Yeah. Resounding consensus on their show is that everything's going to take more time. Yes. And I think me and Christian, our biggest concerns going back to set is, as producers, not being given that time to allow the crew to operate safely and having to fight for that time and fight for what we need to be able to give you guys what you need to be safe. So time is a big issue. So thank you, Margina.
I have a little different thought process about all of this. I really think it's down to sanitation and people actually taking the time to actually washing their hands and stuff, and less about limiting, because you're going to have the same problems if people aren't being sanitary.
Right.
They're still going to be touching things and infecting things. Because I don't think that this is as airborne as people think it is. And if people are wearing masks, then it really limits a lot of that, because I think a lot more people would have gotten sick flying if it was spread by air so much, because of the whole ventilation aspect on the planes. And I also think that more of us within our departments of hair and makeup and wardrobe would have come down with it too at work, because we're so close and there is that spray aspect. So I think it's really going to come down more to sanitation and them limiting things. And as they get further in this, they'll be able to understand that. My biggest concern about going back to work is I've been seeing some of these briefings from a non-union standpoint, and they say stuff like, well, talent can do their own hair and makeup in there when they have all these protocols for camera, grip, lighting, sound, and everything. And it's so insulting and dismissive to our industry, because I don't see them saying that talent's going to mic themselves and turn the camera on and direct themselves. So I think they need to come to us and have a better understanding of what we do, instead of just thinking of us as painters. I mean, Amit can testify to this, and Frankie a bit too, about we're kind of the last people they see before they go to set. So we're kind of the cheerleaders. We know how to do it psychologically. So if they're having a bad day, we let the first AD know, listen, there's problems in paradise here. And we try to help them work through that. Plus, too, there's things from a technical aspect that a lot of people don't realize that we need to know to be good at our job. And costumes can attest to this, too. We need to know how stuff is lit, because how things are lit affect how things look. So he needs to know that from a wardrobe standpoint. I need to know that from a makeup standpoint. Hair needs to know that from the color of the hair standpoint. And we have to understand all these things. We also need to understand what's going on in post-production. If a colorist is going to come in and they decide they're going to do this cool effect and make everything super warm because the director likes that, the overall look of that, because that affects what we do with hair and makeup. So we're not just sitting there painting people. We have to learn so many people's jobs in order to do our job effectively. That's why we need to be part of the equation and part of the conversation.
Here.
I mean, completely agree with everything you just said. I mean,
but I just want to say about even the sanitation. Yes, we can enforce the sanitation, but how? I mean, my question is, how do we enforce
adults policing adults? Yeah.
I mean, I would think that we would all do it on our own accord, but obviously
there are shitty people out there, huh?
There are shitty people out there. And Christian and I just talked about this on yesterday's podcast, that we feel strongly that there needs to be a third party policing monitor on set, much like there's a fire safety officer, much like there's animal welfare monitors, because there is a strange conflict of interest. Like, if it is our client that is behaving incorrectly, we can address it. We're not afraid of addressing it. But if it becomes a bigger issue, it just gets really complicated and political. So having a third party person that is,
you say, like, I'm sorry, the monitor said you had to go shower, like, or else you have to leave set. Maybe OSHA, or maybe it's the permit office, like whoever it is like, sorry, the monitor said.
Yeah, Margina.
Sure, I could be a monitor. Go ahead.
All of that. You know how there's morality clauses in a lot of these actors' contracts? Why can't there be something along those lines in their contract?
Yeah.
Because now it's a safety thing and not just personal preference. There could be levels of that.
Because we smell like today.
But they could then ask the same requirement out of us, though, because how can they trust us that we're all sanitary and we're clean and we've taken a shower when we're working on them?
True.
Not all crew members smell like today, all right?
Yeah, so you bring up a really good point there.
It has to be both ways.
And then there's still the enforcement question. So,
And also the union question. I mean,
also
most of the time, unions don't allow you to sign anything that they've not negotiated to death.
I mean, maybe the unions work together on this so that for the safety of our business and our crew.
Right.
But that is a question, though, if you guys are all comfortable talking about it, because it sounds like you all are union. Have you heard, and I know we touched on it briefly, Frankie, what you've heard of from your union, have they put together any sort of protocols for your job role specifically? Have you heard anything from DGA come to you?
No, because I am sitting on a committee that's putting this document together that would kind of take IATSEs and SAGs and there's in UK's got some stuff running. Like everybody's got their own thing running, and a lot of it's very overwhelming. They're like, we're going to have another 5-unit crew that's just COVID-19. It's just like more people or less people. So the DGA, we are in the process of putting that together at the moment, but we're also waiting for, I think it's called the Rothenberg report. So we're waiting for that mainly before we can actually go forward with something official, DGA wise. And what the DGA will put out will be, because we're kind of like the big brother on a set in a way, even though we're not. All of our document will include what IATSE's talking about and what the producers union thing. All of that is what we are trying to, come up with as well as roundtables like this and committee meetings and stuff like that. But there's nothing official, and there's a lot of temperamental moments in those conversations where they're like, "Oh, Steve, you have a cough, you can't come to work." And I have, like I said, I have really bad allergies. You're gonna tell me I can't come to work because I got post-nasal drip? Stuff like that is what keeps coming up, and it's coming from people who generally don't get sick.
Yeah,
right. Or maybe a different generation of folks who may have done something a different way. I think there's a lot of just standards that should have been updated years ago.
Yeah.
That type of mentality, I'm sure we're all dealing with.
Before we move on, I do want to say, because Christian and I work mostly in commercials, we are not recognized by the Producers Guild.
We don't have a union.
We do not have a union. I know.
Neither do PMs.
Doing this for fucking 25 years, and I am not recognized by a union. I did do a feature film, so I am technically a DGA member, even though I'm not on a qualification list. So Christian and I are, as producers in this industry, we have no protection. I just wanted to get that out there.
None of the production staff are. The PAs, the coordinators, the supervisors, none of them are at all. Just putting it out there. On your music videos, on your print, on your, on your commercials, on your content, on your short films.
Matt, what about you? Have you heard anything from your union?
No, I mean, not in regards to how we're moving forward, but I did see something from IATSE about not signing any NDA. But the weird thing is when you asked a question about non-union work, like we said, coming in the print world, they're already thinking about moving forward. So those rules are not something that they're so concerned about. It's a whole different world.
It's more about appearances than it is about protocol.
Correct. But the other thing is this also, they can limit the crew to 5 to 10 people, whereas it would be hard to do that on a commercial and a film.
But if those 5 to 10 people, if one of them's parent is sick, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And everybody gets.
No, it doesn't. And you're absolutely right. And these are the questions even I'm talking to the production about. And to say,
Margina, have you heard anything from your union?
Yeah, our unions, they don't like us talking about stuff outside of a union standpoint, but I can tell you that there has been discussions and they have updated us. I know that they're trying to work together with stuff and they're trying to put some things together. And then from a non-union standpoint, there are people that are in hair, makeup, and styling that are working on some protocols so that stuff can be put together for print, shoots and stuff like that so that everybody feels comfortable and safe. And also, we want it to be a win-win for everybody so that they can see that things can be done in a safe manner so they're not trying to eliminate us from the equation and it's not going to jeopardize or, make their insurance go up, tremendously. So we are working on stuff on both sides to put together a standardized protocol that can be implemented so that things can be done safely and it's not a subjective thing and it's also not too science-based where it overwhelms people. So just know that it's being worked on. I've had 3 meetings this morning before on this one and all related to that and one after this. So it's being worked on because it's important.
Good.
So rates You know, it's either, hey, A, we need hazard pay, or B, we need, lower our rates because nobody's working and, the brands are losing money too. So those are the two threads of conversation that are going on right now. So Frankie, would you like to take that first?
My job is already a hazard because people are crazy. I want to leave with that. So I don't want hazard pay. I just want you to pay me what I'm due. Because what I'm worth, I should say, not what I'm due. You guys also had that question in there about doing like a 2-week, or am I jumping the gun? 2-week.
No, you're not. We took that one out because it
feels more like for a feature film. They're talking about 2-week quarantine period for the entire crew in a hotel somewhere.
That sounds miserable. That sounds like you're going literally to jail because you wouldn't be able to leave the hotel. Yeah. And what if you don't like the food? And what if you want to go to a spa? Or what if no, I don't want to do that. But
spas are probably closed.
Wait, what happened?
I said spas are probably closed, but that said.
Why do you keep bringing up old stuff? I'm future right here. We're future.
You're in the future. You're in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so you would not take a rate cut just because.
No.
Yeah, agreed. Ahmet?
Would I take a rate cut? I mean, I do on many jobs because of the people that I work with sometimes, because I have to, right. So to me,
it's your choice.
It's my choice. I rather work with people that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. So in the end, obviously it also depends on the amount of work, there are many other factors. Personally, yes. I mean, I don't prefer to take a rate cut, and I don't think we should, because these companies that are struggling, or we know are not struggling that much. So.
And what about hazard pay?
Hazard pay? I mean, like Frankie said, our work is pretty hazardous. As long as I'm comfortable knowing that production is taking care of what it needs to on their end, I don't need to take a hazard pay. If suddenly where I'm like, oh, the production hasn't done this, or people are not, we don't have a sanitation crew, that's where it's like, no, now we need, there has to be some compensation for it, That being said, I might not even take the job if I think the production's not doing what they're supposed to, So.
Right, but Margina, I'll let you answer. But then after that, I'd like to, do you think it's production's job to do this?
Oh.
Yeah, that's one thing we're struggling with too, is I don't feel comfortable having the entire cast's lives in my hands because of Lysol.
Right. Yeah. I understand the struggle in that. So it depends on which world you're talking about. If it's a union job, then it is production's responsibility. If it's a non-union job, then it falls on to us. So there's no way that I'm going to decrease my rate when my cost of doing business is increasing tremendously, because the amount of disposables and things that I'm going to need to have, because I'm going to have to change things out after each person, every single person that's in my team.
So would you raise your kit rate?
Yes, because as it is, we've been fighting with it being absorbed into our rates as it is. And it's like, this is what I mean about people kind of educating themselves on what we do and what our costs are. People are surprised when I tell them that my kit's probably about $75,000 between the airbrush, the hair stuff on non-union stuff, the makeup stuff, the effect stuff, and having multiple kits in case something's stolen and I have a job the next day. I still need to be able to work. So I have to have multiples of things. The other thing that they don't think about is our stuff, if somebody touches it in this world, then it is no longer usable because we don't know what they have. I cannot sterilize something that's moist. So that becomes unusable. So if somebody puts their finger into my makeup palette that's got 20 colors in it, that's from El Maquillage Pro that I love using, that is now $600 a get, that's a $600 loss for me just alone for that one item. So there's no way that is possible. And then the whole proximity thing. So my costs are going up. I'm a small business, just like the rest of us are. So there's no way that I can lower my rates because my cost of doing business has gone up. But if you're going to reimburse me for all these things, you're going to see how much it costs for me to have all these implements for these 10 people that you want shot.
All your tools, yeah.
It's not just the tools, it's all the disposables. It's like, I'm going to have to have all of this. And every time I touch them up, you guys are going to require gloves. I'm going to have to change them out and new gloves and safety goggles, all of this sort of stuff. So disposable capes, if they want to go that far, or I'm going to have still extra capes on hand to wipe stuff down, to disinfect. in between people. There's just so many things along the lines of disinfecting for us that is just insanity. And I know for me, what about returning clothes?
Oh.
Exactly.
There we go. I haven't even thought of that.
Dang.
I mean, here's my question. Well, returning clothing you mean to stores? As long as they...
No, they're going to stop accepting. No. It's going to go back to ad agencies are going to have to start buying this stuff again.
Absolutely. But I mean, the other thing is also, I mean, with costume houses, I mean, even, you know, you costumes for films and stuff, but we dry clean. Even on sets, we are washing and dry cleaning stuff, you know, after every 2 days. And obviously, we keep every actor stuff pretty separated. But that being said, on a truck, all of their stuff is packed so on top of each other.
But there's workarounds to that. I did a job like 7 years ago. It was a medical job, and we were in a hospital, and they started using these UVC lights, sterilized emergency, operating rooms. And there's companies that furnish those that are portable. The studios can rent those or lease those, and they can sterilize the whole thing before anybody comes in. They can put them in the restroom. They can have them on the trucks. So that could be part of the process of like handling the clothes. Like it's put into this room, everything's sterilized, and then that way you have a level of production. And also, too, it helps them from an insurance standpoint. We've already, like I said, there's been a lot of thought that's been going on to things that can be implemented to make everybody feel more comfortable and, you know, a win-win.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the thought of like cutting my rate. And like Amit said, you know, you pick and choose who you want to work for, and that's great. And I've had that blessing of being able to do that. But the bigger reason for not cutting my rate at this point is that there's already 10 pounds of shit that they want us to squeeze into 5-pound bags. I feel like it becomes quite the ballet to make sure that you're keeping people happy and keeping an actor upbeat and like all of those things. And then to add a sanitation crew to that, and then to make sure that I still am paying attention to a busy wardrobe stylist who may or may not didn't know if the actor washed their hands or doesn't know if they sprayed themselves with Lysol on the way out. You know, I have to double check all those things. So I'm already paying attention to the normal stuff. That's already a lot. On top of that, now we have to deal with the COVID-19 protections of making sure that costumes is covered, making sure that makeup is covered, and making sure that they didn't forget something, because we're all human. It's still my job to make sure that somebody's paying attention to something that they should have been.
Yeah.
So and that's why I would not take lesser money, because now my job has another
valid reason.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking a pay cut.
No,
but you know.
No, I know what you meant. I mean, that's what I was like. I said, no, I completely get it.
Working with friends. Yeah. So what if every talent had like their own first team PA? You know, that make sure that's their part of the job is to make sure they're sanitized.
PAs are lazy.
Yes.
I know. Not all.
Most of them are good, but it's really, they're PAs for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like giving PAs another set of responsibilities as it is. The first team
that statement I agree with.
No, that would be their only responsibility. That's what I'm saying. Like, if that's their only job, is this.
Have you ever met an AD? Most of them are lazy. They expect PAs to do all of their job for them. It drives me freaking bananas.
In my opinion, it's too much responsibility to put on somebody that above their pay grade.
Not a good point.
Yeah, we shouldn't put the lowest paid person on the set in charge of health and safety.
Point.
It's like when you used to ask us to run film.
And I just wanted to say, too, that I think that Lawrence and I, after discussing this for 8 weeks now, are trying to somewhat change the culture of production, the responsibility of everything, including everyone's safety. We're trying to change the thoughts behind that. So I didn't mean to, as long as production does everything they want, but you're not always going to get a high quality production team. Right.
No, but Christian, what I liked your idea was, I think in one of your podcasts, though, like hiring a total separate entity. Yeah. It doesn't fall on production, because I don't think it's fair to fall it onto you guys as well, because your hands are full. I know how hard you guys work.
I agree 1,000% with that.
Exactly. Hire like somebody that has maybe a medical group, you know, somebody that's, I heard you say that, and I like that idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'd like to add that if you add another crew of people, that's another thing for me to AD. I just want to make sure that we're all understanding that. Like, I'm not laughing about it. I mean, it is funny, but it's true. Like,
it is true.
But when you have like the medic, you're not managing the medic on set, are you?
Sometimes,
no.
Yes.
Once in a while.
I mean, all jokes aside, I love what I do, and I love that I have the responsibility that I have. I like that I'm good at it, but it does, any new element you add to any set there is an unwritten responsibility to every AD to know what it is and to make sure it's happening and make sure it's happening safely. Even if you have no idea how pyrotechnics work, I'm supposed to know. So when I go over to the pyrotechnic guy and I start asking him questions, he's like, why are you here? And I'm like, because, sir, if you blow something up, I need to know what the hell you did wrong. So, and we are talking about on a COVID-19 level with a little crew of 5 COVID-19 people who may or may not just sit in another motorhome and never come out. And then I got to figure out, why aren't you out here? And they're in there shooting the shit or having sex with each other. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Guys, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you all taking an hour out of your day to join us. It's been great. And it makes me realize, how much I miss being on set and seeing you guys.
Thanks.
Meeting you guys.
It was nice meeting all of you.
Woo.
Wow.
Lawrence, what a spirited debate.
Spirited debate. Yeah, no, that was good. And God, it really does make me realize how much I miss everybody. It really does.
I do too. And there's a couple of things that I didn't realize in there that I don't think that they normally tell production, which is the conditions that sometimes they see talent come in. Yeah. I had no idea.
I didn't.
Because, obviously they're not snitches.
No. And they're too busy.
No, of course. But I would like to know that. But anyway, that was very spirited. So I get a lot of their points.
Biggest takeaway for me is, oh my God, wardrobe. It's no secret. Wardrobe goes out, buys a bunch of clothes for us to try on at the fitting.
I didn't think of it.
And returns them all.
I didn't even think of it.
Yeah.
Not that you can buy everything on Amazon, believe me. I do know some people have purchased things and sent them to talent because of the working conditions that are happening now. I can't imagine what Amazon's doing to sanitize all the returns that they're getting, right? No idea when the big retail stores open back up, whether they're even taking clothing back or not. It didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm so glad Margina was able to explain, because I've had that talk multiple times with different makeup artists over the years, but they have different wands for every time they dip in and do your mascara. It's already her thoughts on sanitation.
They've already taken those measures because that is what they do. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anybody else wants to join us for a crew roundtable, we're going to keep having these. They're very informative. They help us as producers. We want to hear from you guys, from your mouths, what your thinking is. Where's your thought process on how do we come back and do this safely? We can keep reading all these protocol documents, but, we want to chat to our crew.
Yeah, but we want to make sure that your voice is heard.
Exactly.
So this show was edited and co-produced by Rob Blumke.
Artwork and logo design by Christopher Daniels.
And our music was composed by Kyle Puccia.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We're back tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, stay connected, stay active, and please stay home.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face unless you're Frankie. Clean your phone because it's disgusting. And wear a mask if you go outside. It's just, it's just a good practice. Yep. We should be doing it.
Yep. And send us your stories. Send us your voice recordings to producershappyhour@gmail.com.
Lawrence, if somebody out there is itching to get a hold of you, how would they do it?
They can get to me so easily. LawrenceTLewis.com, or for voiceover work, voiceoflawrence.com. Christian, how do people get a hold of you?
SisterChristianProduces.com, which will be revised shortly. I've uploaded everything, just ready to hit the send button.
I can't wait to see it.
Please.
All right. Thanks.
You're going to be like, how did it take you this long?
How did it take you this long?
All right. Bye, folks.
Bye, everybody.